Good evening, RPG Limit Break, and welcome to Game 3 of this match between penguin8r and riversmccown. My name is Smapey, and I am unbelievably hyped to be bringing you this match tonight. Two of the absolute legends of free enterprise clashing together in a match that is going to determine their fate in the rest of this tournament. I am joined tonight by the always phenomenal Auntie Dale, bringing the color commentary. Auntie Dale, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well and excited to see this rubber match between penguin8r and Rivers, where looks like Rivers has named all his characters after Futurama, continuing with the cartoon theme he's had throughout this match.
Any of those names you particularly disagree with?
Not especially, I don't think. How about you?
Well, I find Leela an odd choice for Rosa, considering she has the aim command. You'd think someone with better depth perception would want to be your bow user. But either way, this is going to be a good one. Like you said, this is game 3 of our best of 3 series here. So winner moves on to the Fabul 4 next week. Loser is the end of their tournament. What are kind of your thoughts on this matchup going into this deciding game?
It's going to be a close one, I think. Hopefully it gets about as close as the first one, which was a mere 13 seconds in between the two of them. But either way, we're going to see some very, very high-level play. We might see a few more risks than normal because it is their entire tournament on the line. So we might see a couple gambles. I'd be really excited to see some of them.
Yeah, definitely. If you did not see that match, do yourself a favor and go look up the VOD for that. That was an absolutely insane finish here. If you are not familiar with how the Fabul Gauntlet works, as soon as this seed gets underway, we're going to see 5 objectives that our runners are going to have to complete. These can range from everything from boss hunts to key item hunts to triggering certain side quests. Once the runners have completed all 5 of those objectives in whichever order they choose, they will receive the crystal, which is needed to flip Zeromus to his attackable form, and then they can finish the seed. And the first one to do that is going to move on.
Yeah, and they should be getting off and running in about a minute or so. The runners have actually been going already for about 14 minutes, but they are on a 15-minute stream delay, so we'll be catching up with them throughout. And in this flag set, we will be only getting 7 unique characters. They won't be able to have any duplicates in their party. And we'll see some places that in Swiss Round we didn't actually visit very often for loot and treasure, because we do have elevated treasure in places that are considered lonely or that have the risk of trap chests. And look, we have a Kane start. How do you feel about that, Smithy?
Kane is a really strong character. He's one of those melee fighters that's going to scale very heavily based on the gear that's found. Now, you're not going to have amazing gear early on like you might have in some of our more traditional flag set. And oh, look! It's a little bit of a French vanilla start here. They just swap positions.
Oh, and an early Darkness Crystal. That'll get them moon access immediately, as well as a chance at another character.
Yeah, definitely. I really like this start because this is a lot of power here once you get some gear. One of the great things about Cecil as a character is he scales incredibly well based on the gear that you can find for him. And since you're doing so many checks for all of these objectives, you're very likely to turn up one of those legendary holy swords that make Cecil into an absolute beast. Kane, of course, not quite as beastly as Cecil, but can really be up there if you get some of his good equipment too. Definitely the potential for a powerhouse as far as melee combat is concerned here.
And River skipped through those objectives very fast, but it looked like there wasn't a whole lot of required key items. Looked like there's the defend Fabul, unlocking the pass door in Troy, getting Palom, so we know we'll have a black mage in the seed.
Speaking of black mages, there's another one there in Baron here in Rydia. River's doing this early Baron check here, which we really haven't seen a lot of in this stage of the tournament. Paying off for that rune bangle, though. We know their Palom is available here. That's going to be a great accessory for him when we found him.
Yeah, giving plus to both black magic stats, having roughly the same defense as a diamond ring, and it also makes mages hit you a little bit less. So it's a very, very nice ring.
Meanwhile, penguin8r is going into some of the early areas here. There's a dancing dagger found there, really useful for some of your early game mages or a certain bard to do some damage, but Kayn can actually use the dancing dagger. A good way to get some early damage from him. If you use it as an item, it does a magic attack that hits for a couple hundred damage against whatever you target. Oh, there's a second dancing dagger just for show.
Yeah, that's really nice. And it does, if you don't find a good weapon for Kayn, like an ice brand or an ogre axe, or even a poison axe, it's definitely going to outdamage his spear that he starts with.
Yeah, the big thing to keep in mind with Kayn's spear is that can be a little deceptive for people not inherently or not incredibly familiar with the underlying mechanics of free enterprise or for Final Fantasy IV in general. Spears tend to have very low accuracy, hovering around the 80% range. Which means every attack that somebody makes, which is actually a collection of several attacks at once, about 80% of them are going to hit, as opposed to something like swords, which usually boast in the 95 and higher range. So even though they might have high listed attack power, you might not get as much damage out of them as you think you should.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why the defense sword is Kayn's ultimate weapon for most of the game.
There's Yang inside the Kaipo bed. So we know 5 of our 7 characters here, and I'm not seeing a lot of healing.
No, but there's a whole lot of offense with 2 black mages and then a punch mage.
Always gotta love the fist wizard, the fistard. No, that doesn't. You know what? We'll just go with punch mage. Here's going to be another character check here on the Lunar Dais.
Yeah, and meanwhile, penguin8r are going up Hobbs, equipping equipping Kayn with that ninja hat for extra speed and the dancing dagger.
And just another Kayn. Rivers is going to reset out of that.
And there's character number 6 as Edward.
Well, we got dancing daggers aplenty for him, so he'll actually be able to contribute to some damage early on. But unless penguin8r is comfortable with some Eddie strats, not going to be terribly useful here.
Yeah, and one thing that we do guarantee with these seeds is that if there's not a white mage in the seed, and Paladin Cecil will not count as a white mage, you are guaranteed to get Cure 3s in an overworld shop.
Yeah, Cure 3s, incredibly useful items. The big problem with relying on Cure 3s is, of course, you're not going to get that multi-target healing that can be very useful in a lot of fights, especially the Zeromus fight. So going to be a tricky thing. Of course, when you've got characters like Yang that are available, they make phenomenal chemists because of their massive HP pool. They can usually stand up to multiple big bangs before needing to be healed, so you can always rely on them to get your party back in order. But yeah, no dedicated white mage as of now is going to make things a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and the other thing with Cure 3s is they're going to get really expensive if they have to rely on them for healing. Just because we are on S quarter, so it means everything sells rather than the normal half price that you would normally buy it for. It sells for a quarter of the purchase price. So it's going to be a lot harder for our runners to have enough money to really fund a lot of Cure 3s. We might see a lot more reliance on some kind of Cecil cover strats once we get Cecil up there, get him to a pretty high defense and let him take most of the hits.
Yeah, definitely a favorite strategy of mine. There are so many boss fights in this game that rely solely on physical attacks. And when you get Paladin Cecil online and a little bit of defense on him, stick him in the back row so he's getting that defense multiplier as well. He's going to automatically cover any of your low HP party members and can really trivialize a lot of fights if you have the foreknowledge to be able to set up for it. And speaking of good defense, there's an Aegis shield for Cecil when he gets online. That is a nice shield to find.
Yeah, and before he gets online, we do have that black sword that Rivers has picked up, which is the Dark Knight Cecil's best weapon. It does give you also the ability to swoon enemies as well, because it does have the ability to kill them if they don't have the boss bet outright.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the actual proc chance is based on, but yeah, if you just like the Assassin Dagger that you can also find, that Black Sword or Deathbringer, as it's commonly called in the more up-to-date translations, yeah, it can be really useful for that.
And I like this play from penguin8r, checking out, getting some information from Value Cave here in Cave Bahamut. It's something that we've seen Rivers use to great effect in other runs too. So it can be just very useful to get some information about bosses. Fortunately, we just know it's a Lunar Sparkle.
Yeah, never underestimate the power that of just a little bit of intel in these seeds. There's always little optimizations you can get to check on bosses and get that information. Can really help in routing going forward. Speaking of routing, there's a tower key, not immediately useful, but that's going to make the tower way more attractive once we finally get underground access.
Yeah, you don't have to walk all the way to the top and maybe reset back down to the bottom. You'll be able to get both tower checks out immediately, all at once.
Yeah, that keyless tower has been something of a popular play throughout this tournament, but now that is not going to be necessary here. A tower is going to have 2 key items. You're only going to have to go to it once. All said and done there.
Ooh, illusions and vampires in the Hemingway shop. Those are pretty nice. Both the illusions kind of help you get a white mage in a box, and the vampires give you a little bit more damage. Eddie and Dark Knight Cecil will be able to toss those for 400 to 700 points of damage, depending on the spot.
Yeah, outside of Gaia drums, vampires are probably some of the best damage items you can get early on in a seed. Not only are they going to be doing substantial damage to some of these early game boss spots, but they're going to keep your character who uses them tapped up, which is, as we mentioned, with this lack of healing that we have in here, could be a substantial point against certain bosses.
And Runner's kind of trading places here. penguin8r now finding his extra cane up on the moon, while Rivers finds King Queen Evelyn and Edward.
Yeah, and while we're just sort of going over Recover's tracks here, definitely want to give a shout out to our behind-the-scenes team here tonight, putting on the show and making it available for everybody here to watch. We've got Joe Fismano running the restream, getting everything broadcast here for you. And Elias is doing the tracking here tonight. So definitely give them a follow, give them support. Without them, we cannot make this show happen.
And now we all know that Rivers generally likes to try and fade Fabul if he can, so he only goes to it once. However, I'm not sure this party is really strong enough to want to take on ordeals. So, although he's going to make a liar of me immediately, maybe.
Yeah, it looked for a second like he might be heading towards Fabul, but nope. Immediately heads south to Silvera. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes an attempt at ordeals here. We've got dancing daggers, we've got vampires at this point. So that's a substantial bit of damage. Oh, and there's some star veils that could really seal the deal and make up Rivers' mind to head for ordeals, because that's going to cover a lot of potentially scary bosses, and penguin8r and a little bit of synchronicity also finding those star veils at the same time.
Yeah, Silvera can be a kind of an awkward town to get to unless you're on your way to Fabul or to ordeals. This is kind of situated out in the middle of nowhere.
We're gonna have to dog Rivers about this now, because it looks like he is indeed making the early Fabul play.
He is, but I don't blame him at all. The team needs some help. I think he wants the levels. He wants the extra key item check to maybe get something really good out of it. It's one of those things. If you have a Sid with a good Rune X, or you have a good mage like a Palom online early and have a way to get virus pretty soon, then you could skip this. But it's just, this is not a great team to skip the free XP here.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we tease, but yeah, being adaptable and not following a rigid plan of attack is definitely going to help here. Yeah, already we're seeing the benefits of that black sword there. You're already getting a swoon proc on the middle of the Dark Imps there, and there's a second one. So Cecil going to town here, showing that, you know, Dark Knight Cecil can contribute a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, just give him an actual sword and he's all right, not just the shadow noodle. Yeah, 3 for 3 on swoons. Those Dark Imps are down fast and easy.
That is the power of darkness. And getting the pass there, so that's going to be the first objective done here for riversmccown. One of the other rules of thumb besides fade Fabul until you can multi-do it is get your objectives done. And one of the reasons for that is there could always be something that leads you to another objective hidden behind another objective. If you hold off on it, you know you got to do it at some point. Might as well get it done whenever you can. And while that is not particularly, not anything that's going to be advancing the seed here, it's certainly a load off your mind that you're not going to have to take that walk of shame down through the subterranean once it's time to fight Zeromus.
Yeah, and it is knowledge that the second objective is completable whenever you want to. It'll probably not be completed until the very end, but it is there in his back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. Would certainly make you start to think, well, I've got this, I don't have to hunt it. Maybe I should start looking at, you know, early Zeromus strategies. If, you know, we find Mylon, we find Palom early, you know, yeah, maybe I need to start thinking about what kind of early Z strategy can I get. You know, we got Eddie. Am I going to maybe go in with a low-level party and rely on Edward here? So, yeah, that's probably got the gears turning in Rivers' head at this point as to the possibilities.
Yeah, and we did find a light sword in the back of the King's Chamber in Fabul, as well as we found a Flame Spear and an Ice Brand for Kane. So he has well, Kane's not usually well known for having a lot of adaptability in terms of hitting a lot of different status effects or a lot of different resistances and weaknesses. Kane's kind of online for that right now, kind of just missing a Runex or a Mute Knife.
Yeah, if only there was a Thunder Spear that he could hit that element with.
I mean, the Dragoon Lance kind of sounds like a thunder.
I love any Dragoon Lance seed just because of the sound that thing makes. I just like the slight delay from the animation, so it's like rolling thunder over the battle. Great effect.
And this is a spot I'm sure Rivers is very happy to see Baigen, who is very rude in other spots, but there's not a whole lot of HP here. So Baigen's not really going to get a chance to do much, although it does have to fight the arms twice.
Yeah, you either love to see Baigen in a spot like this that's just easy to mow through, or a spot that isn't even required, or even better, Baigen just doesn't show up anywhere in the seed. He can be an incredibly difficult boss, especially in later stages. Just hits like a truck, constantly regenerating the other two parts. Is this... Nope, just a water hag.
So, so we're all going to keep our eyes peeled for the next blue road.
Absolutely.
Where that's guaranteed to be the Gauntlet. But as you're saying, this is a free spot. It's definitely a great spot to see Water Hag if you're trying to do this early. The Water Hag's not actually going to get a chance to kill your party, where a very rude melee boss could kind of make you reset and try this again later.
Yeah, certainly. Rydia, not the most amazing pickup, but with those dancing daggers, she's going to be able to contribute to damage here early on. And if they come across an Asura summon, might be their only source of multi-target healing for quite some time, or in the entire seed if White Mage doesn't show up at some point.
Yeah, and there's a hook that could be our intended way underground.
Yeah, it's starting to look like it is. We're kind of running out of spots to check. We've got Ordeals left, and of course there's a couple bosses. Our good friend Derek might be hiding behind some of them with alternate access to the underground, but right now it's beginning to look a lot like a hook seed.
Yeah, and if we don't get a White Mage, there could be some really rude stuff at King Queen Upland that will slow our runners down a good bit.
Yeah, the scary part of hook seeds is always what boss is waiting for you there in that spot, normally occupied by Rubicante, It is a huge jump up in HP from what we're normally used to seeing at this part of the game this early, and can hit very hard. There's some really nasty bosses that can occupy that spot and really present a roadblock. So yeah, if there is a rough boss there, it'll be very interesting to see how these runners approach that fight.
Rivers did go to the east side of Mount Hobbs and check out what summon you might get there, and it is missed. So passes in that, resets back out, checks the Chocobo Forest outside of Mount Ordeals, and finds that a Sur summon you were talking about earlier. So that is access to some multi-target healing.
Absolutely, and that is a heads-up play there. Not a check that you often see people play outside of these difficult-to-find treasure seeds. So great job on Rivers' part picking that up. That could be a crucial summon going forward. We got some Pain Man over on penguin8r side as the first boss of Ordeals. Doesn't look like he's doing enough damage to really warrant much threat.
No, this is at best Acupuncture Man. Just some very tiny little needles, or maybe some tickles.
It's Massage Man.
I think I saw a count of 9 on at least one of the attacks against penguin8r. Like, there's just not much here.
Yeah, the cat scratched me when I was picking it up because it was drinking from the wrong water dish, man.
It looks like Rivers is going to let his Radia stay down, though, not getting a life off, or even trying to get a life off. So, going to maybe keep her for a slingshot or for some sort of just agility anchor for a while. Where on penguin8r's side, we see Mylon Z, so a required trip up Ordeal.
Yeah, there we go. So now the only real issue here is finding Palom. We have access to basically every other objective. We've got the hook to get underground. So now it's just a matter of prioritizing those spots for character recruitment. As soon as we get ourselves a miniature black mage, this is go mode.
Yeah, and we do have an Edward on both sides, and so that means we could be seeing Eddie strats here.
Yeah, I don't know each runner's individual familiarity with Edward strats. I know these are two of the tippity-top runners in all of Free Enterprise. So if anybody could pull it off, it would be these two. It'll be really interesting to see if that's what they go for or if they rely on more tried and true grind strategies.
Yeah, I mean, Edward strats are nerve-wracking anyway, but if you're doing Edward strats for your life in the tournament at the very end, in the game 3 of the rubber match of a best of 3, that's going to add a little bit extra pressure to that.
Yeah, just a teensy bit. And penguin8r is first into the Cluia Shrine here. Be the first with the Paladin, and the first to find out what our gift here is. Was that Luca key, it looked like?
That was a Luca key.
So nothing particularly helpful there, unless there is a key item in the sealed cave that leads to something like an Earth Crystal where you can get character recruitment from. Nothing immediately exciting there, but something definitely keep in your back of your mind.
And leg fans are going to get a double dose of Rubicant. Unfortunately, it's going to be a very, very fast dose since we do have that Ice Brand for Kane.
Yeah, Rubicon definitely needs to work on those legs there. Just they are not strong enough to stand up to that Ice Brand.
They're both out of that fight just a couple seconds apart.
Yeah, this is pretty exciting. Now, Rivers, of course, has the advantage here, has done Baron, so has that hook, and so is technically ahead here. even though he's just a little bit behind Penguin8r coming out of ordeals. But this is still incredibly close right here.
Yeah, there's absolutely lots of time to equalize and to have various runners have mistakes or people having just some really good plays to where they could catch up or extend lead.
Yeah, I've got to imagine that Rivers' next play is to go into Evelyn Cave and start the way down.
Yeah, I know we saw the Kaipo officer fight in the waterfall. I'm not sure if we've actually had a check of Mist Cave yet.
Yeah, Mist Cave, and of course there's always that lingering boss, the Magus Sister spot that could be Derek Mist, but that would be quite a long shot for that to be the Mist Dragon with the Magma Key.
Yeah, definitely not something you bank on, and you probably assume that it's not going to happen.
I did see a Thunderclaw there from Penguin8r. If we get Yang at any point, arguably his best weapon with all of the Thunder Weak enemies that are in the pool here.
Oh, and just a Valis there in Mist Cave, gonna be pretty happy to never have to fight her at a high spot.
Yeah, Baigen and Volvalis taken care of is definitely good to see early on if you're running this. Those are two very, very nasty bosses, and not having them in a high-level spot is a sigh of relief, I should say. So Penguin8r very close here to getting caught up with riversmccown, who is just going through the various towns here, stocking up on inventory before making that descent into Evelyn Cave. I absolutely want to make sure you're stocked with everything you need, because this is a pretty scary party, all things considered, to be going into Evelyn Cave and fighting those two bosses down there that guard the underground.
Yeah, definitely not something I would look forward to. And Rivers finally checking out some of the front of Watery Passage, picking up one of those dancing daggers that Penguin8r's had for quite a while, as well as that ninja hat.
Now, did Penguin8r get that ninja hat too, and I just missed it?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Yeah, very, very important headpiece there. Not only because it can increase your agility, but it just allows you to adjust agility in general, so which can be, in the right hands, an extremely potent way to get around particularly difficult bosses.
Yeah, I'm always really thrilled to see a ninja hat. That extra agility gives you either, especially in the overworld, kind of lets you speed up to the point where you're noticeably faster than bosses, or lets you kind of manipulate to where you can get people to specific breakpoints in other fights to kind of change what agility the other boss runs at, how fast they go.
And here we go into Evelyn Cave. Rivers is going to check a couple of chests here, maybe hoping for an early stale man so he can just sort of scum around them and get some other chests. Just grabs those two and goes into Evelyn. It might be the only two chests we see him check here. There's some cabins, so that is definitely nice to have. Big upgrade over those tents.
Yeah, one thing that this flag set does do is the S-Pro flag makes cabins have to be in gated shops only, and it does mean that you've got a decent chance, like not a fantastic one, but a decent chance of having cabinless seats, and those are always a little bit rough to deal with.
Yeah, you know what the worst part about not having access to cabins, Antidale?
What is it?
Things get really intense.
Yes, indeed. Penguin8r has gotten their hovercraft, while Rivers continues diving down into Evelyn Cave. We'll soon get to see that character check.
Yeah, this could be a very important character check. If it's Palom, then this is go mode. We still haven't seen that seventh character, though, which could be some sort of support mage, and that is Palom. This is go mode.
That is go mode. That is an element at the Rubicante spot. So we'll probably see some reflex strats for that.
So this is interesting. As soon as our runners break into the undergrounds, all they have to do is go into the tower, beat the boss in Lower Babel, and then it's just, how do we beat Zeromus from this point? We've already got the pass, so Moon isn't no real requirement to go to the Moon at all. Both runners have checked there, but that's all they're going to have to do there. Things are about to get very, very interesting.
Yeah, Rivers looks like he's going to go back to save, maybe do a little extra looting here in Cave Eblin to give him the opportunity to get a few more chests and maybe a little bit better equipment to fight those bosses down in the King Queen Eblin spot, whoever is there, as well as that Elements.
Yeah, might also be thinking about that Mad Ogre chest that is in Upper Bad. This would be a very, very difficult team to do it with, just because you don't really have any crowd control to really manage those Mad Ogres. So I don't know if that would be a great idea, but it would be an enormous source of experience. And I believe his Rydia is still level 1. I don't see the exact numbers here, but might be in some slingshot potential there with her.
Yeah, she has some slingshot potential, but she's also in good potential to be an anchor if Rivers is thinking about doing Eddie strats. And as Invenerable in chat points out, we haven't seen either of these runners do them on stream, and we don't know if either of them has actually practiced them much. I know both of them are quite aware of the theory.
And here we go. Here is that Mad Ogre chest. We've got some cover going out manually from Cecil, covering Edward, who I guess is going to be integral to whatever Rivers' plan here is. And I believe he might have some charm arrows, is that, or mute arrows, excuse me?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, the Mad Ogres have both the Giant and the Mage flags on them, so anything that hits either of those weaknesses is going to do good damage. So yeah, Edward is bringing the pain here.
Yeah, and I imagine Cecil has definitely the Aegis Shield and maybe also the Rune Ring on, just to get lots of defense. You can see that he's being missed or only getting hit for 1 damage to the Mad Ogres. So both the back row and probably the Aegis Shield doing a great bit of defending.
Yeah, and like you mentioned here with the cover strats here, we've got both Kane and Palom coming back up in critical damage, so they're going to get auto-covered by Cecil. You might be wondering why he's bothering to attack here with Cecil when Cecil's doing piddly damage. That reason is if Cecil takes the parry or defend command, he actually cannot cover. He can cover so long as he's not parrying or he's not berserked. So if you actually pass on Cecil's turn with that parry, then you won't actually get any covers going out. So you got to keep attacking with him to move past his menu.
And we see penguin8r retreating from going forward in Eblin and going up to Mysidia. Look, he's going to buy some mute arrows. I wonder if we're either going to see a cheeky reaction grind from him, go to the moon and pick up a lot of XP there, or if he's just coming up here to do a little shopping before going back down. Nope, he's getting in the whale. I think we're going to see some reactions.
Wow, this is some high-level stuff here. Galaxy brain play here from penguin8r. Really pulling out all the stops.
Yeah, depending on which one of the 2 fights he gets with the grenade, I think it is, in there, kind of get like 20 to about 20,000 XP from this grind. So it can be very, very good.
So tell, for those that might not be familiar, tell us a little bit about this grind.
So I think it's the bomb, actually, but there's an enemy on the moon that if you hit it with a single targeted lightning spell, so you can't use Thor Rages and you can't multi-target, has to be a single target, it reacts to that by exploding and killing all of its compatriots. Which means 1 lit gets rid of between 4 and 5 enemies, which depending on which pack you get. So it's a very, very nice grind. You just have to be able to actually have your Black Mage live long enough to get that off. Meanwhile, Rivers is through the Mad Ogres, gets a Ninja Sword for it, and a good amount of XP. I think Rydia was dead throughout the entire thing, so she maintains her anchor status.
Yeah, the one unfortunate thing about that is it didn't look like it was enough XP to get Palom to Quake, which is like the really big early break point for him. I don't think he even got Virus, actually, looking at it.
That would hurt a little bit because you definitely would like to try and get Virus on Palom there.
Yeah, those are sort of the two big early game damage spells. Virus, single target, Quake a little bit later for multi-target. So yeah, without those, Palom's not going to be able to contribute quite as much as you'd hope he would.
And penguin8r not doing a reaction grind. Looks like he just went up to go to the giant.
Is this going to be a Mac Giant grind?
That's a really good question. He isn't super well situated for that, I don't think. I mean, cover Cecil can definitely take a lot of hits, but the Mac Giants hit pretty darn hard. And I'm not sure he has enough giant killing weaponry to really make a Baka Shinobi in chat saying he does have charm arrows, but you have to do about 8,000 points of damage to the giants in order to kill them.
Yeah, this will be very, very interesting to see exactly what happens here. Yeah, like we talked about, we were gonna see some very unorthodox things from these players, getting, essentially go mode as early as they have. And now it's just a matter of what is the quickest, most efficient way to get to the end. And we're definitely seeing an array of strategies between the two of them here.
Yeah, we see just exactly how hard those Mech Giants hit, knocking out everyone, doing over 1,000 points of damage to each person that was in the front row. It's definitely a little bit risky.
But yeah, looks like now everybody is in critical HP, so now they're all going to get auto-covered by Cecil. Let's see if he is able to withstand this kind of punishment.
Meanwhile, Rivers is fighting the D-Lunars, has gotten one of them down, and looks like he should be relying on Kane with a Flame Spear and jumping to do most of the damage.
Yeah, very smart call. The jump, since it is not the fight command, is not going to trigger that script change from the D-Lunars where they go into reflecting viruses off of themselves, which can spell doom for most parties in a lot of different situations. So yeah, very solid damage coming out here from Kane, sticking to the way more reliable script of just the constant fires and attacks. So yeah, this is definitely working out for Rivers here. And queuing up attack from Cecil. You think he has been counting and he's close enough to. Yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful game knowledge there, knowing exactly where he was on the HP count and when to just finish it off. So excellently done there by Rivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I imagine that once he goes back, we'll see Palom bluff a lot in this next fight to get those Fire 2s that Palom did pick up from getting the experience from the Med Ogre chest, and then a Sarveil toss up on one of his other characters, and Palom will mount a lot of Fire 2 at the Mylon Z form of the elements, so that we don't get any transformation to any of the other forms, especially if Cecil's able to cover and has a Crystal Gauntlet, I believe, on. He will resist Mylon Z quite well.
Yeah, like a lot of things in this game, the phase transitions are essentially counterattacks. And if you use something that can't be reacted to with a counterattack, then it just sort of skips the script. And reflected spells in this game cannot be countered. So if you just reflect all your spells off them, we never get that phase switch, we never get the HP refill, and you can take care of the fight much more easily.
Yeah, and penguin8r is spending an awful lot of time looking for whatever fight he's interested in. And all but Kane is down on his side right now. This is a pretty big gamble that penguin8r is banking on that unfortunately looks like it's not paying off quite yet.
Yeah, and he is running out of life potions very quickly. At some point, he's going to have to go out and restock.
Yeah, we will see Palom looks like cast a few direct shots because we do have a bit of an HP buffer. There's a lot of hit points in this spot before we have to worry about having to bounce the Sarveils off before the reaction scripts go.
Yeah, and Starveils, though they last a long time, it is. So, hold off and throw them up when you're actually going to begin using them. And penguin8r is going deeper into the giant. Is he maybe going to check for a free boss?
Maybe, or could just be looking for a searcher fight. This is the back giant fight, so looks like he's going to life up some people. Hopefully he has enough life potions for everybody.
He's got one for Cecil.
Yep, and did buy another stack of 30.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
He does have enough.
Okay, that was the part I was confused. Like, what is the plan with that life? Okay, hidden second stack. Keeping the drama up there.
And we see on Riverside just how manageable this fight is when you have Cecil being able to cover, especially when he has some undead defense gear. He pretty much, Cecil's only going to take just a couple points of damage constantly from Mylon, the Mylon Z form, and Mylon Z doesn't even punch all the time. Will often throw out a bunch of curses, which aren't too effective against this party.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that Cecil actually has the ability to remove those curses. We're actually getting to see Cecil using some of his spells for once. You don't see it very often, but ooh, that fire 2 went through without a reflect up.
Yep, Cecil's got enough there in the tank to take that and not worry about it too much, though.
Yeah, that might be one of the reasons he didn't take the time to bluff up a ton on Hallam, was just in case he throws a fire 2 out while reflect is down, he doesn't one-shot Cecil and all of a sudden put everything into a huge state of emergency.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Especially since you don't have a whole lot of white magic to where you can check on your status too easily.
Yeah, right you are. The only real way to tell if you've got reflect up is to try and cast a white magic spell on your party, and then you'll get to a separate screen that tells you everybody's individual status. But without a way to get to that screen, you're basically guessing. There's no visual indication that reflect is still up.
Penguin8r Cecil has the illusion worn off and is taking a couple of punches from this Mac Giant, doing enough to just get through and knock out Cecil a couple times.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting.
I didn't see how big of his stack. Oh, he's got a decent stack of illusions. He can probably get through one or two more events.
Yeah, so,
I don't think he has. Yeah, I don't think he has time to go all the way to like getting Palom or Rydia to very high levels, though.
Yeah. So I was wondering, off the top of your head, do you know about how much XP each of these Mac Giants is going to get?
I don't know. Might be able to go search on the net and find out, though.
And down go the elements, or rather just the Mylon part of the elements. But that's going to take care of everything there for Rivers, and he is going to have access to the underground here at the 39-minute mark.
It looks like they have 31,000 XP per giant.
Okay. And if he's getting a life potion on, so that's double that, so about 62,000.
Yeah, so he doesn't need all that many, especially for Palom, who would is in slingshot range, would also get double. That's an evil wall at the top.
So, would that be a spot where Eddie could hide his way through the fight?
No, it's not. There's way too much HP there, and definitely not enough attack power.
Gotcha. Because it's something like that's about like 20,000 HP.
That sounds about right-ish.
So yeah, it would, and it's like a dozen or so attacks before it gets to the crunch. So yeah, I don't, yeah, unless it's hitting itself for over 1,000, that would not work.
Yeah, and in chat, Ryu RPG asks if they could give an explanation for slingshot. In Final Fantasy IV for Enterprise, there is a flag that we have turned on where if a character is 5 levels below the median party level, so not the average, but the median, so only the bottom 2 characters can get it. If you have a full party of 5, they get double experience points until they are caught up. So if you're in a fight like the Searcher fight that Penguin8r is in, and are able to summon monsters repeatedly, you can kind of stack all that experience up into one very big chunk, where the character will then get all of that XP in one go and get it all duplicated.
Yeah, it's a convenience feature that we exploit the heck out of because we're speedrunners.
Yeah, so you often see characters like Rydia, who is not terribly useful unless you get some very specific items early, but is great if you can get her to nuke at level 50, but your XP curve is awfully slow. So if you can keep her down and don't need her throughout most of the early game, and then get into one of these fights to where you can get her 500,000 experience points, and if she's behind the median, 5 behind the median, she'll then get 1 million out of the 5,000.
Yeah, it's phenomenally useful for characters like Rydia and other mages who derive so much of their power from what level they are, since they get certain spells at certain level benchmarks. So really, really good tactic to keep in your pocket for such situations. There's my favorite item in the game, the pan in the rat tail chest.
Yeah, that's a really nice pickup. It does give him the ability to check out 3 more key items or key item locations, and we do see Rivers buy some mute bells as well out of the item shop. Those are really nice items. You want to explain a little bit what they could be used?
Yeah, so mute bells, they got a lot of play in trap chest flag sets where you would run into the ghosts in the Fame Arch, not the Fame Arch, the Sylph Cave, that you would have to sit through all of their Fire 2 animations, but there are a lot of other useful places to use them. They cast the silence spell on all enemies, and since there are so many enemies in this game that are bosses that can actually be affected with silence, you can really utilize against them. The big one that you would use against is the Baron Guards that normally counterattack with some status inflicting spells such as Pig and Mini that can be really nasty. You just throw a mute bell out there and all of a sudden you don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, and Penguin8r is doing another Mech Giant. He doesn't really have a whole lot of illusions left, though. And he might have forgotten how to actually kill the Searcher when he was done with the fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a puzzle that I'm not sure has a solution that isn't incredibly messy.
No, that's a reset, and that's a lot of time Penguin8r sunk into that for no gain. That hurts a lot.
Oh dear, yeah, that is not what you want to see. I mean, hats off to Penguin8r for trying that play. This is tournament life on the line here. Game 3 of one of the most ridiculously high-level matches we've seen so far in the tournament. And you got to pull out all the stops, but yeah, just does not have what it takes in that party to finish it off.
Yeah, and Rivers doesn't seem like he's going to check the Fame Arch and going to do other things rather than just going straight to the top of the tower. It seems like he might not be super comfortable with any strats, although here he goes to the tower. So we'll see if just getting the pan changes his mind at all. If he was looking just for a free crystal sword or something to make the Z fight easier.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much harm in going to the Fame Arch there and checking the free chest and seeing what's there. If it's a piece of high-level equipment or something like the pan, it's probably maybe the best thing you could have possibly found there, because that opens up so many other checks. There's a lot of really, really good loot that gets added into the key item table to get passed out instead of some of the empty key item spots. And since he has a party that is very, very loot reliant with Kane and Cecil there, that live or die by their equipped weapon, why not go ahead and check? Maybe you run into maybe you run into enough key items to get the 10 you need for extra experience. Maybe you run into something like the package of the Earth Crystal that gives you additional characters. We still don't know who that 7th character is, and it could be someone who could alleviate a lot of the sting of this low-level party so far.
Yeah, we do see Rivers making use of the stop spell on Palom, which is something that Penguin8r's Palom didn't have that could have helped Penguin8r an awful lot. Stop being, it doesn't last terribly long, it doesn't last as long as an Hourglass does, but has the same effect of just stopping the enemy in its track.
Yet when an enemy stopped, none of its script works, no reactions, nothing like that. So yeah, very, very heads up way to prevent things, like in this case, those alerts being able to summon reinforcements. So yeah, each of these trap chests in the tower gives you a chance at the trap chest loot table, which is substantially higher than the normal loot that would be in the dungeon that it's in. And since he's got this way to sort of mitigate the encounter, the difficulty of this encounter is every time you hit the alert, it summons a reinforcement. Since he's got that stop spell on Palom to get around that, a very smart play to go through here, loot this out, see if you get anything good, because like we said, very equipment dependent party here. There's a strength ring. That is a wonderful addition to this team.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice pickup. It's probably not what Rivers is actually looking for out of here, but he's definitely not displeased to see it. And each one of these chests does have a 15% chance, if it's one of the chests with an alert hit, of dropping tier 7 gear, which could be like a crystal sword or a defense sword or a white spear.
Yeah, those would be the holy grails sort of that we'd be looking for here. Anything else, can be good. High-level armor is always appreciated. Some decent accessories like that strength ring. But yeah, that's what the real treasure would be, that tier 7 loot list.
And Penguin8r now starting on his D-Lunar fights. We're seeing a lot of Cure 2s being tossed out.
Blizzard Spear might not be exactly what we're looking for here.
No, that's just on the okay list. Looks like we're probably going for Lunar Frog strats on Penguin8r's side. Yeah, there is the Reflected Breath, with only Setzel out, and only him having the Starveil off. We get one frogged dragon, and once they do that, then that frog can't cast the wall spell, which is why Penguin8r went to attack that one first.
Yeah, this effectively removes that back frog from the equation. The dream is to be able to get the breath to hit both dragons, but sometimes it only hits one at a time. You got to do with what you got. And Penguin8r making as good work of that as he could, gets through the fight, and will now be dealing with the elements fight as Rivers takes on Evil at the top of the tower here.
Yeah, and he did a nice job realizing that the front Lunar Dragon was still going to continue casting Virus on the Frog Dragon. So that was going to take care of his compatriot, where he could just focus all of Setzel's attacks on the one who is not a frog, who would do nothing at all, and continue going on and just take them both out quite.
Yeah, really strong showing there, kind of like really how much Penguin8r understands this game, being able to adjust strategies on the fly like that. So good heads up. Seeing a little bit of stutter stepping here from Rivers as he tries to nail some run buffering here to get as much time as he can to get his commands in.
Yeah, Evil kind of cheats a little bit. He can get off a lot of attacks all directly without you being able to do anything, even if you're all at RA1. Does a nice bit of Starveiling at the Palom to bounce those viruses off of, because there's enough HP here that you will absolutely run into some petrification problems.
Ooh, taking the reset. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a change of plan here. I think we might be going into some Cecil cover strats here.
Yeah, Cecil picking up a little bit better armor, Kane picking up the strength ring to do a little bit better offense. Penguin8r is using the Flame Spear on Kane's side since he did not get any XP on his Palom. So we'll be fighting this Golbez, but we'll be switching to a Blizzard Spear very soon. And Kane goes down.
Oh goodness, Penguin8r taking a wipe there to Rubicante form, and yeah, this just not going his way today. Antidale, does it bother you as much as it bothers me that Evil Wall is at a different angle than the tiles on the floor are?
It does now that you mentioned it.
You're welcome.
I mean, I guess it's just another sign of how evil that wall is.
It is the most evil of walls. Really proving just how evil a wall it is.
It looks like Penguin8r is switching up the party order a little bit. Hopefully is able to get through this fight pretty soon. But he's, without having those extra levels on Palom that Rivers did, definitely going to be a much harder fight.
Yeah, certainly. And even though Rivers is, moments away here from getting all 5 objectives done, that's by no means means that he's ready for Zeromus. And I'm still wondering, what if you're in this situation, Antidale, what do you do? What is your plan of attack for getting ready for Zeromus?
With this party and this much on the line and not knowing how I would actually spend the time to level, it would 100% be Eddie Strat.
Would it? Wow. You are a braver man than I. I would, my own personal guess here would be, since we've got that Luca key, go in for a trapdoor grind. Not actually the greatest grind in the world, but that would be what I'd be looking at.
Yeah, and without the ability to actually cast a wall on anyone, that's a lot riskier. You're not always going to get the XP on the people you want.
Yes.
And you don't get to Z levels without 10 key items, so you'd have to burn time to get to 10 key items too.
Yeah, not the best strategy, but there are not a lot of great options available.
You could get Palom up to Quake, and if you've kept your Iridia down, get him to kind of just Quake through the entirety of the Sylph Cave, because you can, with the correct agility manipulation, put him in the slot where Rivers currently has his Cecil. And make sure you always get the Quake off before the enemies get a chance to do anything. That can get you a decent bit of experience too.
Yeah, not a bad plan. Another one was maybe fish for some free bosses up on the moon. We've seen a couple of those freebies like Water Hag, but there might be some bosses you can squeeze through on the moon, grab a whole bunch of experience and some decent loot. Again, not the best plan, but it is there.
Yeah, it's definitely a plan that's on the table.
And this is what is just really interesting about this bracket flag set is, we have to see so many of these wildly divergent strategies, since the normal avenues of gaining experience in your party, like Sirens, just are not available. So, you got to have a lot of creativity, you've got to have a lot of adaptability, and most importantly, you have to have a very thorough knowledge of the game and its inner workings and just what you have available to you. And it really goes to show just how skilled our runners have to be able to compete at this level.
Yeah, and we've seen Rivers struggling with this Evil Wall a little bit. I think this is the second or third time through. This is not a great spot for Evil Wall. This party doesn't have a lot of levels and doesn't have a whole lot of offense yet.
Yeah, and this spot has a pretty substantial amount of HP, as we mentioned before. So yeah, this is by no means easy. And it's just a rough party with no real way to get it powered up very soon. If I'm in Rivers' position here, I might even be looking at, leaving Evil Wall behind, maybe checking something like Dwarf Castle just to get through, just to get the experience there and another role at a character that might be able to help out. I don't know.
Yeah, and you wonder how long it takes you to maybe make that decision if you fail 3 or 4 times here, if then you're just feeling way behind. Like, both runners absolutely feeling the nerves and the pressure of the situation.
Oh, and Rivers gets through it. Incredible. So that is the last required task that Rivers has to do here. The only thing he needs to get the crystal is open up the door leading to Zeromus. So chances are that's not going to be completed until it's actually time to go to Zeromus. So now the big question is, what's Rivers going to do?
Yeah, does he grind? Does he look for a white mage? Or does he just put all his faith in Edward and say, Bard, take the wheel?
Gonna check the super cannon on the way out. So might as well grab another free key item spot here. Oh!
Yeah.
Did he save?
I don't think so. But
Okay,
Cecil gets the star rail off.
Okay.
Everything is fine.
Okay.
And Palom dodges too. So
wow, what a boss. Palm's like mega nuke, more like mega jerk.
You know, that's actually a little bit less impressive than Porum dodging multiple mega nukes in the very opening match of the Fabul Gauntlet from a Wyvern at Fabul. But still, always impressive to watch characters dodge that mega nuke.
Yeah, it's why even if you know you're boned by a mega nuke, wait and see if the animation lands. You never know. There's like the temptation to reset as soon as you see that Wyvern, but hang in there. There's always a chance.
Yeah, do a quick run buffer like you saw Rivers do, and then if you have any mages at all, or if it's in a spot like the Tower Key or Dwarf Castle, the Golbez spot has also very, very low magic attack. So you can dodge it in both of those places.
But we have seen some great Hanzo Steel here for a ninja that has yet to show himself.
Yeah, that was what, both a Ninja Blade and a Murasame?
Yeah. We're talking about, getting great equipment for your melee fighters. Well, we've got great equipment for one particular melee fighter, but not hide nor hair of him.
Yeah, it looks like penguin8r is looking for some random encounters to grind off of to just get a little bit of levels to get through this. Nope, that's not the one he's looking for. I'm not actually sure what fight he's intending to find.
Would it be the egg, maybe?
Maybe, but I would have thought that Sorcerer Blademan, if he has enough to kill the Blademan pretty much instantly, would be the one you'd look for to try and get some sort of slingshot.
Yeah, that's very true.
Because the Sorcerer works kind of like the alerts, except it's more like the Conjurer and the Famart. And that's a nice Stardust Rod for a Black Mage that might not see a level where you'd actually cast Nuke. But if the Sorcerer doesn't have any friends lying around, he will just summon a new pal.
Now, Rivers dipped into Self Cave, thought better if it came out and saved, it looks like. Might be looking at some of these chests here.
Yeah, Rivers really likes to check at least these first two chests. Gets another Stardust Rod.
Wow, I did not realize that could drop in a chest in this area. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, Stardust Rod, the ultimate piece of equipment for the Black Mage in your party, giving plus 15 Wisdom, which is the Black Magic stat in this game. Useful early find in some flag sets that allow it, because using it as an item gets you that Stardust spell you would normally get through using a Stardust item, which is a great way to hit multi-target early on. Of course, at this point in the game, it's a little lackluster, but always an option. Ooh, package. That's a potential character check. Do you think Rivers takes a peek?
Yes, I think you 100% take a peek to see if that's Fuseya or Tella, because then that ends your entire question of how do you grind.
Yeah, very, very good point. Getting access to that weak spell means the machine grind is right there in front of you. You already got the Darkness Crystal. Go take care of it, get your grind in, finish this seed.
Yeah, and as Invulnerable Chat points out, that he's kind of imagining that both runners are maybe thinking that the other person is already at Z. Since all the pieces were right there, you knew them all as soon as you got to the hook character, and whether or not the other person is in the middle of doing Edward strats. just kind of wondering how that affects their mind.
Yeah, especially when you've taken as many wipes as both of our runners have to various things. Each of them has to feel like they're behind right now, despite how it actually is, just because of how each of them have struggled at different parts throughout the seed. So yeah, that's just going to add to the tension that's already here. There's a magma key, a little late here, but it does get us closer to that 10 key item threshold.
And just a good Dragoon glove for the other piece.
Yeah, so decent piece of kit, but not exactly useful at this point.
No, that leaves Rivers at 7 key items. He has 2 semi-freely available checks, both at Dwarf Castle, and he should be able to take out the Luca Cave boss as well. But then, if both of those would turn out, then opening the Troya door would get him to 10.
Yeah, that's a huge risk. And even if he gets there, I mean, if he gets there, then I guess, well, no, because then he would have to go through Sealed Cave, which would mean trapdoors would not be on the table. Just a Palom at the package, not useful there. Still don't know who that 7th character is. He's got to be checking Dwarf Castle next, you think.
And penguin8r slowly going through a mad ogre fight. And Rivers getting into the whale, then getting out of the whale, then getting back onto the ship. A little bit of indecision. He's probably not quite sure what he actually wants to do right now.
Yeah, and I don't blame him one bit. This is such a difficult position to be in. It's how do you approach it? There is no easy answer here. Anything that you could possibly do is just feels like the worst thing you could possibly do at any given point.
Yeah, Rivers looks like he's going to sell the farm here. Or at least some bits of the farm. He's assuming there's no edge, selling both of those ninja swords.
Yeah, as a hoarder, just a little twinge of discomfort here as I see those katanas being sold. But yeah, the likelihood that you get an edge at this point is pretty low. Not to mention, if you do get an edge, it's not exactly solving any of your problems.
No, he's already defeated all of the alerts in Lower Babel, so he wouldn't be able to steal sirens from them. There are other places you can steal them, but it's, those are the easiest ones to do it at.
Looks like he might just be shopping. I thought for a second he might be. No, wait, is he going for it?
I think so. That's some silk webs. That's one of the very, very important parts of Eddie strats. Well, if he goes to buy a lot of star veils, then we'll know.
Oh, nope, the fake out. You needed to get those tents.
Well, it is intense here.
Yes.
To reprise your joke.
Right. Which is a very good joke. I don't care what anybody says.
River's giving us a little bit of a tour of the overworld as he flies around, maybe trying to remember where star veils were.
She's showing us just how free that Enterprise really is.
That's a lot of Cure 2s.
So, I don't know that we've seen every shop check, but I don't think we've seen Cure 3s yet, have we?
I don't believe so. I don't remember seeing them anywhere, and I believe they have to be in the overworld if there is not a white mage in the seed.
Right, so if there is no Cure 3 in any shop here, would that stand to reason that the 7th character has to be a white mage of some kind?
Yes, it would. And white mages can be Rosa, Porum, Fu, and Tella.
Well, half of those unlock a grind, so that 7th character might be key to this if Rivers remains hesitant to try those Eddie strats.
Yeah, we are going to the Giant.
And this might be a Mac Giant attempt here from Rivers. Definitely in a better position here to try to pull it off than penguin8r was earlier. He's gotten a lot more levels under his belt, better equipment, more defensive Cecil here. So this might end up being a little bit more successful.
Yeah, his Cecil will be much better equipped to do the cover strats than penguin8r's was.
Speaking of penguin8r, gets through that Mad Ogre fight. That's going to be a huge boost in power for his party with the experience he gets there.
Yeah, it's now about on par with where Rivers was when Rivers was able to defeat that Elements fight at the King Queen. So penguin8r should be probably employing very similar strats. We'll see a Starveil go up on Palom, or a Starveil go up on somebody, and a whole bunch of reflected fire twos.
Yeah, can we get some appreciation in chat for Maggie the Cat for rolling this absolutely beautiful seed? This might be one of the most interesting seeds I've seen in the entire tournament.
Yeah, I think this has stretched both runners farther than they thought they would be stretched.
Yeah, absolutely.
River's going to check the elements boss, as you should do anytime that you go into the giant, just to make sure it's not super free.
That's got to be Plague, right? I think we've seen everything else.
I think so. Have we seen Ogo?
Oh, no, we have not seen Ogo, and now we have.
Now we have. Okay. Yeah, so we're not doing Ogo Pogo.
That is the very opposite of a free fight.
No white mage, no dice doing that Ogo Pogo. That is a terrifying fight if you don't have a white mage.
Well, if our white mage is only in the giant, which it's the remaining spots for character recruitments are Dwarf Castle and Tower of Zots. That's 3 spots there. If all of those are dupes, then the sole white mage in this seed is guarded by Ogo Pogo at Elements. Wow.
Yeah, Blaze does point out that Baron is also on the table. Since we don't have the Baron key.
We have not found the Baron key. That is also another potential spot.
Yeah, so there's a lot of places that our runners could go to look for a white mage. But neither of them seem like they're going to. They're just going to go power overwhelming. And Rivers with both those Stardust rods should have a pretty easy time.
We had a question in chat, so just to clarify this. The seed does not necessarily have to roll a white mage, but if no white mage is rolled, then it guarantees that Cure 3s are available in a shop somewhere. As of now, we have not seen Cure 3s in any shop. I believe every shop has been checked at this point, and we haven't seen Cure 3s. So that would indicate that there's a white mage somewhere as that 7th character that we haven't seen.
Oh, and it is Cure 3 potions have to be available in a gated shop. I had said overworld at least once before, and so Cure 3 potions are guaranteed to be in a gated shop if no white mages are available in this.
And then another question about the shop after you forge this. Kokel's shop has its own special rules. It does not follow the normal rules for shops for the seed. It always has high tier loot in it. If that had Cure 3s in it, which I'm not sure if it can or not, but if it would ignore the normal rules for the seed. It's a special exception.
Yeah, and you might have seen us do a lot of D Machine so far through this tournament, and how people are able to find that straightforwardly. That's because, especially the vanilla speedrun, and some of the speedrunners have put together a chart that kind of tells us, based on since we always reset before we go looking for that fight, there's only so many seeds at which the game has to kind of put in counters throughout the thing, so we're able to determine pretty quickly where that fight should be. No one's really done that for the Mac Giant, so you just kind of got to walk around until you find this single searcher fight.
And then, one other question that came up that we didn't have any. A white mage, as far as the logic of the game is concerned, is anybody other than Cecil that can use the white ability. So yeah, Rosa, Porum, Fu, and Tella one of those 4 would be required to show up if Cure 3s aren't here.
Yeah, I know my mental headcanon is, can you cast Cure 4? If yes, then you're a white mage.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because as Noalme points out, Rydia can use white magic at some point in her career.
That is true.
But she doesn't get enough white magic to really count as a white mage.
I stand corrected.
And penguin8r is through the elements fight. Good job, penguin8r. That is a good recovery from kind of being possibly tilted with that Mac Giant grind that was done earlier. Yeah,
massive props to penguin8r for keeping at this, sticking with it. He certainly has to feel like he's enormously behind at this point, and while he is, just the difficulty of the seed and the lack of available options for getting ready for the end game, because that really is behind as you might think he is.
Yeah, it's definitely closer than it seemed for a while. Rivers has to do this grind fight and do it well. Senzel is getting popped pretty hard, even in the back row, even with his extra levels and defensive.
Yeah, it's a very unconventional grind for a reason. It's dangerous and, you know, very inexact compared to something like the D-Machine grind, but, you know, it's the only option on the table. So, you know, good on Rivers for sticking it out here and going for it. Looks like he's got it largely under control. It's just going to be a lot of those tier 2s.
Yeah, he did buy a stack of 40, so.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said, 8,000 HP on these Mac Giants, only doing about 1,000 each from Cecil and Kane. Each of these is going to take a while to get down, but it's what you got. We also got Edward sticking in there with the 1,000 as well. So the Bard contributing way more than you ever thought he would this seed.
Yeah, Charm Arrows, real good. They're definitely some of the arrows. I pick up Charm Arrows and Mute Arrows, pretty much any seed that I have a bow wielder available to me. And Mid the Mage in chat asking a little bit for clarification for Eddie Strats. Eddie Strats are where you take advantage of its hide command in order to avoid all big bangs, and then you use mostly reflected damage, especially after a certain point. Since Zeromus will counter any sort of magic attack, even things that you wouldn't normally consider an attack, with a counter nuke or some sort of counter spell. Then if you have a Star Veil up on that Edward, they'll just bounce the nuke back to Zeromus, so you can slowly chip away all of his health and have Edward hide from any possible harm.
Yeah, the advantage to that is it takes a while. It doesn't take quite as long as you might think, just because you're going to be naturally doing the HP refill skip on Zeromus, since all of your damage is coming from reflected sources. It'll never trigger that flag halfway through his AI script, his HP total, that tells his AI to refill his HP and begin the next phase. So you get to skip that, but still, it is a long time. It's substantially longer than doing him conventionally, and any one misinput or mistake on your part, mistiming, and the whole thing goes up in smoke. It is a very, very risky strategy.
Yeah, and we've seen some very good and interesting variants where you might berserk a Crystal Sword Cecil for a little while in the fight to do a bulk of the damage, or if you can have a Fusaya life Fu, use Edward mostly to just kind of get Fu back on his feet to where Fu can bounce nukes and speed up the fight a lot too. But all of them revolve around Eddie's ability to hide from big bangs.
We're going to see penguin8r going up against the evil wall here. We'll see if this ends up being a little bit of a struggle for him, or if he can do this a bit more cleanly. If he's able to one-shot this fight and handle it smoothly, that's going to earn him a lot of the time he's lost against Rivers at this point. Get that right back in his favor. I think penguin8r is going to try Eddie Strats here, but I don't think it's enough damage.
Yeah, he's definitely going for it, and I don't think it is either, but we will find out very, very soon.
Yeah, only 700 a pop. I believe it's 13 or 12 attacks that you get before he gets into the crunch part. That's just not going to be enough damage, I don't think.
Yeah, it was a very, very nice setup to where everyone was at critical HP, so that Edward was definitely going to get off a hide and not get punched out by Evil Wall. Very cleverly set up by penguin8r. Unfortunately, I just don't think this is one of the spots where the strategy works on its own.
Yeah, points for creativity, just the numbers just aren't going to fall like you'd like them to.
Yeah, if this were a spot like the Leviathan spot, this would work wonderfully, as well as a number of moon spots.
Yeah, I remember there was quite the memorable community race a year or two back when most people discovered the Eddie Strats for themselves, when it was basically the only way to get into the undergrad and given seed. Yeah, there's the reset there for penguin8r, realizing he's going to have to come up with something different.
Yes, and to answer MTI's question in chat, doesn't force you to show, but you can't. The evil wall will stop punching himself once you get into crush phase. So you have to then finish it off yourself somehow. Fortunately, you generally don't have enough time to show and then get someone back on their feet, and you're just going to lose that crush phase battle. Penguin8r finding a poison axe in Tomra. That is a spicy find for doing a Mac Giant grind.
Yeah, Poison Axe has pretty abysmal accuracy, but it does have that bonus damage like most axes do against giants. So it is worth putting up with. That'll do some serious damage if he decides to go back in and do the Mac Giant grind at some point.
Yeah, I don't think he actually bought it, but he looked like he was selling some stuff and maybe considering it.
Yeah, making a mental note there, if nothing else. He definitely saw that, and there was some hesitation. So probably very, very aware of that location now. And you can tell how serious a match this is because there was no attempt to check the Jaw Dwarf there.
Yeah, you can't spare those frames.
Oh, there's Cure 3s. So never mind all that speculation about a white maid. We have no idea who that character is in the 7th spot.
Yep, there cannot be a white mage now. There also still can be a white mage.
Yeah, that doesn't necessarily help us identify the last character. That stipulation about if there's no Cure 3s, there has to be a white mage is out the door. That 7th character can be anybody at this point, and now it's a lot less attractive to hunt them down, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Because if I was 50-50 of getting Fu or Tella out of some of these checks, I would be way more likely to do it.
Even still, if I wasn't comfortable at a Mac Giant at this point, and I, was really looking for options, I still might consider doing Dwarf Castle here just to take a peek at that character and see if it might be somebody that can maybe light a fire under this team.
Yeah, and I wouldn't hate the levels you'd get from doing Dwarf Castle either, or the getting closer to 10 key items, because that's something that's going to make Rivers' fight here just take longer. And he's doing a good job. He's also casting Stop with Palom here to just kind of slow down the Cure 2 consumption.
Yeah, there are two spots that kind of get understated a little bit, I feel, as far as their XP potential, are that Dwarf Castle spot and the top of Lower Babel. They give a pretty significant chunk of XP for the mid-game there, especially in Dwarf Castle, since you're doing 2 fights, one back-to-back. It can really be helpful if you're looking for that sort of early to mid-game push to get your mages some of their important spells or things like that. So yeah, if you, in your own seeds, don't discount how much experience you can really get from those spots.
Yeah, they can definitely do a lot for you, and Dwarf Castle doesn't have very much hit points at those 2 spots, so you can get a lot out of them. And if you've just come through a hook route, you almost certainly can deal with Dwarf Castle.
Certainly. Did Penguin8r just sell his light brand to buy a poison axe? You don't see that every day.
You don't, but this is one of the days that you're gonna see it, because that's going to be more useful for him at the Z fight. Just by virtue of the levels, it will get him faster in a Mac Giant grind.
Yeah, it's interesting circumstances that would make that happen, but yeah, trading one of the best swords Cecil can get for one of the worst axes in the game, just because this one specific instance where it's going to be useful. Really, really intriguing seed here.
Yeah, and again, you've talked about adaptability a number of times. That's definitely a piece of adaptability that people who are not very familiar with the game would not have thought of or do or feel comfortable with.
Oh yeah, I know I would. The light sword is the best weapon I've gotten for Cecil. I would never be comfortable with with selling it like that, but that's also why I'm not in this tournament still.
I admit it would be very, very hard for me to press that button.
It's hard to push A to sell it, and then you got to push it again to confirm it. Oh, it's the worst.
Yeah. Shwarmuda in chat asking if there's a goal of the number of giants. I'm sure there is. There is. The goal is really probably get Rydia to nuke, which means she has to get about 1 million experience points. These giants have 31,000 XP per kill, so if you life glitch, then you're getting 62. And then if you are able, with Rydia in slingshot range, she'd be getting 104,000 experience per giant. So Rivers needs to kill about 10 of them and get life glitches off on all of them to get her up to nuke.
Look at Antidale with that math there. Whenever I do a grind like this, the answer is when my heart says I've grinded enough. Counting is for nerds.
Certified nerd.
I'd also like to reiterate I am no longer in this tournament.
Yeah, because the goal full stop here is nuke on both the casters because that wins Z for you. And the Demon Machine people are more comfortable with because we do it a lot more often, so people kind of have those numbers internalized. If I hadn't looked up the amount of XP here before, like during this run, I'd have no idea when to stop and would probably stop at the wrong spot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that nuke definitely the goal here. Nuke is your answer to being able to beat Zeromus. The most important thing there is if you're relying on nuke as your damage, you can do that strategy we mentioned earlier where you're doing all of your damage as reflected damage. Skip that HP refill, it ends up being a much shorter fight that way. And then you just have to use your melee fighters to use those single target curatives to keep your mages alive. And you'll be right as rain. Penguin8r going into the sealed cave. I wonder if this is a key item check or if he intends to do a trapdoor grind.
I personally feel it's a key item check, but we'll find out very, very soon.
It'll all depend on if he goes in to turn on encounters before opening this door. Nope, this is for the key item, it looks like. And a little bit of looting.
Yeah, I think this is a loot and key item check, maybe. I don't know. Definitely not a normal play we see out of Sealed Cave. Although this does have some pretty good loot in it.
Yeah, this is a gated dungeon, which means in the T-Pro flag set, it's going to have an elevated loot table. So, you know, with the characters here that have such reliance on items as they do, definitely good to check these. The Hourglass, not something you often see in this flag set, can be very useful against certain bosses.
Yeah, it can. One interesting thing with the Sealed Cave is that it tops out at tier 5 gear. You can't get any tier 6 or 7 gear under the T-Pro flag.
And you can almost sense the unfamiliarity with looting this. Penguin8r goes into that first room, which actually doesn't have any treasure on it.
Yeah, you pretty much only see... Oh, there's a Poison Axe again. So didn't need to sell everything, but now has 2 of them. So that might be enough for him to stop.
Yeah, 2 Poison Axes, 2 Axe users. Back Giant Grind is looking a little bit more attractive. Yeah, at this point, both of the runners not seeing the dot done from their opponent, they've got to be thinking, okay, maybe they're struggling too. Because with how quickly available all of these objectives were, someone should be done by now, especially at this tier of play. So they've both got to be thinking, okay, well, you know, I'm going to keep in this. I'm going to put, you know, get another burst of speed here. Notice the grindstone, because they could be struggling just as much as I am, and you know, maybe the victory is still within grasp. So this might be a little shot of confidence for both of them here.
Yeah, and it's possible that both know that maybe the other isn't comfortable with Eddie's strat, so they're a little freer to find a grind. One of these genres do know each other very well, so they both could be aware that neither has practiced Eddie, and Eddie's awfully tense. I learned it in the middle of a community race because I had seen people do it before, so I had some of the groundwork. But I don't know if I would be willing to just try it out here at this stage.
Yeah, I'm at risk for heart disease, so there's no way I'm going to try Eddie strats anytime soon. And Rydia getting shy of nuke, it looks like, as riversmccown finishes up the grind.
Oh, one level short. That hurts a little bit. I wonder if he's
Yeah.
going to do any fight at all to kind of shore that up. And I saw somewhere in chat asking if the Assassin Dagger could work on Mech Giants, and I just double checked, and Mech Giants are immune to the KO effect.
He's not going to actually go try Ogopogo, is he?
Also interesting that Edward has an awful lot of agility. So is not a good anchor for Z at level 45.
Yeah, very, very good point. Might just be getting hide with that Edward and not specifically do Eddie strats, but if you keep Edward hidden to avoid the big bangs, he can pop out and help heal things up after the big bangs go on. Sort of hybrid Eddie strats, I guess you might call them. But he can still contribute even if he's and with that enormous speed, his turn is going to come around a lot, which is going to really help recovering after those big bangs.
And River's finding the single best chest in the game for getting high tier loot. I don't remember what the odds are of this one, but it's close to 50% of getting tier 7, I think.
And so, yeah, there's a point that I had not considered is, you might not be considered, it might not be concerned with Rydia not having nuke here, since he does have Asura, and maybe he's going to rely on that for his. Oh wow, that's an Avenger.
That's going to help out.
That is a tremendous help. Arguably, one of the best swords you can give Kane is for Zeromus. Puts the auto berserk status on, which we really have no way to set with this party. Not only is that going to be an attack boost for Kane while he's got that equipped, but since the AI is going to be automatically putting in commands for Kane, his turn is going to come around a lot more regularly than it would otherwise in the Z fight. Really, really big.
It does mean that he's going to have to, if he does equip the Avenger, he doesn't have, I think, enough magic power to push through, if he counts correctly, even if he counts correctly, to get through and skip a refill. So he would be guaranteed to go through all the fight if he does equip that Avenger.
Yeah, at this point, when you don't have Rydia with nuke, that kind of makes the HP refill skip a lot less attractive, and I think you're just going to do it conventionally here, doing some reflected things on there. You know what is also on the table? I'm just noticing he's got a Drain Sword as well. Could we maybe be seeing Drain Venture Kane?
That would be amazing at this stage of the game. We did see Rydia learn Asura a little bit earlier, so there's just so much going on. This is amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's it's something. I know I've relied on Drain Venger before through Cataseeds.
If Kane if Kane goes to the middle, I think we're more likely to see Drain Venger, because the Drain Sword just has such bad accuracy and stats that you kind of need to be in the middle to hit hard enough.
Yeah, I think you just do it traditionally right now, but you've got that the Drain Venger available if you want to do it. It's an option that's on the table. Probably not the best option right now, but it's there. The way that works, if you're not familiar with it, is that the item that you equip when the fight starts, essentially if you switch out to the Avenger, since it puts auto berserk on it, never updates what weapon you have equipped, so you're constantly getting that drain ability of the Drain Sword. You're also stuck with attack values and hit values, but you're berserk and you're draining on every hit. But esoteric strategies aside, Antidale, I think we've got a question we need to ask. Would you like to?
Okay, absolutely. So we've got all these Z flags out in chat, and that's because one bit of randomization that we do, because Zeromus is just too much to put anywhere else. He fits so nicely right here that we want to leave him here, but we want to give him a new face every day. So we have 450 different sprite options to answer the question of whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
I'm just waiting for the day we get more Zeromus than there are Pokemon.
That is a day that might actually happen.
We're on pace to reach it. There goes the crystal. The true colors are emerging. And there goes the fourth wall.
And pool miss.
So this is an excellent Spider-Man sprite that Scala has put into the game here for us to fight.
Absolutely. It's definitely from one of those Spider-Man that was in the multiverse Spider-Man thing, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. That's what we're looking at here. Some great Spider-Man here.
And meanwhile, penguin8r has found his grind fight.
All right, here's our first Azura. Azura has 3 spells she can cast. 2 of them useful, 1 of them not so much.
Well, they're all useful. It's just you don't want the life one very often.
Yeah. Except for when you do.
And then you're going to get one of the other ones.
Right.
Oh, and that is no nuke for either child. So we are going to see a lot of tier 3 elemental spells, a lot of Asura, and a lot of Kane of Enduring things.
Yeah, this is by no means going to be the quickest Z fight, but as long as River stays focused, doesn't miss any of his inputs here, this is certainly manageable.
Yeah, we'll probably see a lot of nerfs coming out, and then we also have Edward hidden just in case that we have to kind of recover and scramble.
Yeah, that hidden Edward is just a phenomenal insurance party, and yeah, there's the insurance policy. There's the face you don't want to see unless things are going very, very. I don't think. Yeah, we're still got a while before the next Big Bang, so should have enough time for a good Asura cast to come out here.
CheeseNader asking why the intermittent runs. It's a technique called run buffering, where if you can get the can't run menu or can't run thing to pop up just as your ability to enter commands happens, that means the ATB doesn't actually kind of advance while you're getting into your menuing. It kind of really helps kind of do a fight. And that is the second life one that we've seen on Rydia, so Rydia doing a good job keeping up the randomness.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer to the point in the script. Wow, look at that. That is some heads-up play there. Concerned that his HP is not going to be high enough to survive the next Big Bang, throws a vampire against the Reflect in order to get healed up. But, of course, Rydia finally decides to hit with Sura's to make it all null, but still, really, really strong play there from Rivers.
Yeah, absolutely great awareness. And I think we see penguin8r having a much easier time this time and also doing it much faster than Rivers did with the virtue of that Poison Axe.
Yeah, all it takes is one wipe here from Rivers and penguin8r is right back in this. That is dangerous. Palom very, very close. HP ran out, might be in his future here.
Yeah, not too many ticks. Yep, there it is.
Now, I don't believe Rivers ever went to Tamara, so I don't think he actually has any threes here. So Asura is his only means of big burst healing.
Yeah, and you can see those bursts are very, very big.
Yeah, it's just only a 66% chance of working.
True.
Yeah, the nice thing is that unlike normal white magic, which works off of the will stat, Asura is a summon spell, and it's going to be working off of Rydia's wisdom stat, which is boosted through the stratosphere with that Stardust Rod. That's why even the Cure 3s are hitting as hard as they are there.
Yeah, and I know there's a tiara at the seed, and I think Rivers did pick it up, so it could be boosted by that as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got that tiara on Rydia.
That's also why Rydia is actually not entirely safe, but it's more safer than you think at 1500 HP, and there we get a high roll and knock her out.
Yeah, there's that commentator's curse there.
Exactly. But, you know, she still only took 1600 from an unnerfed Big Bang. She can definitely dodge enough to where she won't die consistently.
There's the black hole. Not going to affect Kane since he has that Avenger equipped, so Cecil is going to have to take care of the healing here. I don't think he's ordered Edward out of hiding just yet, holding on to that insurance policy, getting everybody else healed up here with the Cure 4, and just going to, let Cecil get Palom up. Palom probably not the biggest key to the fight at this point. It's really on the melee fighters and Rydia. So yeah, wanting to keep that Eddie hidden, not feeling the need to pull him out just to get Palom up. Completely agree with that.
Yeah, I think the Eddie is your absolute emergency button when things are gone horribly wrong, if they do. That's our third life one.
Yeah, the other nice thing about Asura's heal is that it's going to ignore that reflect status too, which normally means that person can't be healed with multi-targeted white magic spells, but summons just really don't respect the reflect status in general.
No, they're on a whole other plane.
And Palom certainly appreciates that Asura roll.
Yeah, 6,000 on a Cure 3 is just amazing.
There's the shake. I don't believe we've pushed into phase 2 yet. I think we're still in phase 1. That might be changing now because that's a pretty big burst of damage.
Yeah, that long pause. Oh, there's a big bang. Okay.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a pretty long pause. That might have been the push, but no, it was not.
Well, the big bang also could have been queued, so we might have had a refill off of the damage, and then that I'm not quite sure, but I think we're still
clarification
not
from
quite.
Chat there. We did see a nuke, so it looks like we have made it in there. There we go, everyone back up. Rydia definitely proving her worth here. Elixir getting thrown out on Rydia to get her MP back up in shape.
Yeah, she's definitely going through it at a pretty prodigious rate. And penguin8r still trucking through, probably just kind of waiting for it done. I would imagine, knowing that he had done this grind a little bit earlier and is doing it a second time.
Oh, virus out, no reflect up. Oh, we have falling rocks. We are in the burn phase. Rivers just has to survive a little bit longer, and he will be moving on. Full 4. That means that Zeromus is at less than 12,000 HP. Just has to hang on a little bit more. Chunking away at him with those melee fighters.
And Rydia just chipping in with a little bit of Asura, making sure that the fighters who can't dodge those rocks are able to keep going.
Yeah, using instant cast healing here, making sure their HP totals are above that 10,000 HP threshold that Medio hits for about. Yeah, and he's just throwing everything on Kane. He doesn't want anything to go wrong here. As long as Kane is above that threshold. And there's the boom, crack, flash, GG. riversmccown wins an incredibly difficult seed against penguin8r to move on to the final 4 here in the Fabul Gauntlet. GG's indeed. What a win.
And we are joined by riversmccown. GG, Rivers.
I think Rydia is broken. I think we should think about, removing some of these summons and just kind of lowering her power. It just makes things a little bit too easy,
Yeah, she's clearly too strong.
Yeah, why don't you take her out and replace her with playable Golbeth?
Yeah, I'll get right on that one.
The first question I've got for you is actually comes from chat from someone named Invenerable. Wants to know why couldn't this have been done sub 1 hour?
It couldn't have been sub 1 hour because I wasn't comfortable with my Eddie strats at all. I practiced them a couple of times. I really thought hard about it, but then I'm looking at there's like an Ogre Axe grind. I've actually got to beat the evil wall too, so like there's some grinding involved there, and it was just one of those things where I kind of had to go with my gut there.
Yeah, we definitely saw that indecision, or at least it seemed the indecision, kind of flying around different places, not quite sure where you wanted to go or what you wanted to do next.
Yeah, I was looking for shops. I mean, I had already decided at that point. I was looking for the Ogre Axe. I decided at that point the Mac Giant grind was probably my best option of a bunch of bad options, and so I kind of went with that. I had to find tier 2s. I wasn't sure if stop would help me out enough, and it turned out it did. So that was fortunate. But yeah, that was a rude seed. Maggie the cat rolled for us. Said she had only rolled 1 before that for ZZ2, and I think we can stop her from doing that ever again. That'd be nice.
I don't know. I think she needs to come out for the finals.
That was some dark juju she pulled out to get that one in there.
Yeah, that was a nutty run there, especially after all this talk we've been doing, where Penguin and I back and forth the whole time, and this time like your opponent is on your tail and you just got to do something, and yeah.
We saw you reach deep into the bag of tricks a number of times throughout that seed. Was there one particular part where you thought was particularly inventive, or like one that was particularly difficult that really kind of stands out to you?
That ruby spot element scared the crap out of me multiple times. I was low on cure 2s. I was like, am I gonna have to cure 2 with Cecil to get out of this? Am I good enough to go yet? I tried to play it safe. I didn't want to have to wipe and do the whole fight over again. That was really rough. I really didn't want to burn my Bacchus wine on the evil wall fight, and then I just realized that was the only way I was gonna win it. So I had to go there. And then after I did the grind, I was like, well, I mean, I guess it's either we got to do more grind to get nuke, or we've got to go ahead and check these chests. And the Avenger saved my bacon there. I love Berserk. I love white mages. Don't listen to the hate about Porum. Damarine was right.
Yeah,
those are big words.
Yeah, talk about an amazing pull there at the last minute. Was grabbing that Avenger. That was pretty huge.
Yeah, that was that was one where I was like honestly looking at things like, well, if I don't get any big sword here, what am I gonna do? I had like a couple more levels. I was actually thinking about going back and demachining, just to finish the thing off, because I finally got weak with Rydia. I was like,
that was going to be
nuke. Yeah.
The next question of like, do you do that? Do you do like trap chest down in the Fey March for just a little bit of XP because they're not that far away?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go in there at one. It had to be both of them if I was gonna start grinding again. So I was pretty committed to demachine at that point. If I had to go back around, I had to bail out of that fight a little bit early just because I wasn't sure my ethers would hold up. I didn't want to get stuck there and have to run up the fight or something. So I had to play it safe there. But yeah, that was a seed, folks. Whew.
We did see you had that drain sword that you were holding on to. The drain Venger ever cross your mind as a possibility?
No.
Sorry, chat. Well, congratulations on your well-earned win tonight. One of the most difficult seeds I've certainly seen this entire tournament. Moving on until the Final Four now. How are you feeling? Going this deep, and how do you feel about your opposition coming up?
Well, I don't know who we're playing yet. I think there's some conjecture about that. I'm kind of out of the loop on that. I know Moonblaze, I played him in the Swiss round of 3. I beat him by like 12 minutes, I think, but he's very good, obviously. Nabla Force is kind of a newcomer, came out of nowhere. Showed off some really good Eddie strats. Probably would have won the seed tonight, but I don't know who I'm facing yet. So just looking forward to the challenge, man. That was a really rough seed, and Penguin's a great opponent. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, most certainly. Well, congratulations tonight. Very, very. Thanks so much for the interview and for being restreamed here. Really looking forward to seeing you in the Fabul 4 coming up next week.
Thanks so much, guys. Godspeed, Penguin. I'm finishing.
Take care, Rivers. So that was riversmccown winning tonight's race, the time of 1:39.45 in an absolutely brutal seed. Very, very well-earned win.
Yeah, and meanwhile, penguin8r had finished his grind and hasn't found the Stardust rods that Rivers did, so his mages are a little bit less well-equipped, but I think got a few more levels. I didn't quite actually see the end, but now does have to fight this evil wall to complete objective number 5, and then we'll be going straight onto the Pastor and Troya to finish out this.
Yeah, this is just a matter of checking off the list at this point. Still is going to have a relatively difficult time. He did go to Tamra, though. He does have those Cure 3s, so healing in the final fight is not going to be as maybe random as it was for riversmccown. Going to have much more reliable healing with those Cure 3s. So hopefully we won't run into too many more roadblocks here for penguin8r.
Yeah, and oh yeah, Rydia at 1900 HP definitely has nuke. I'm not quite so sure about Palom at 1700, whether he also has nuke or not, though.
Yeah, that's a little borderline. I know 1800 is... I see him with nuke. Not too familiar with exactly what HP ranges we would see here.
Yeah, I think he's a little low. I think he usually gets it around 1800-ish.
Yeah, there's a strong chance that he might get it at the end of this fight, because like we said, there is a lot of XP up for grabs here. Might push him over the threshold of one more level to get that nuke spell, but if not, he's going to be relying mostly on his melee fighters and Rydia to take care of the damage here.
Yeah, and in chat, Pyrelight says that Palom got to level 50, which is 2 levels shy of nuke for him.
Yeah, 2 levels might be a little bit too much to ask for at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah, you're only getting 26,000 out of here. It's definitely not going to be enough for 2.
Not even a single one, so never mind.
And Neongrave pointing out that penguin8r did move around the spell list, so we might see a little bit of a grind to get Palom up to that level. We do see encounters going on.
Yeah, this wouldn't surprise me. Oh, actually gets that alert. Just leaving it immediately, though. Wouldn't be surprised to see it, because that way he would have 2 casters with nuke. Instead of relying on the physical damage, mostly with like Rivers did, would just be able to go for the reflected nukes and get that HP refill skip to substantially cut down on the time this fight would take.
Yeah, it definitely just makes it a lot easier, and we might see, I don't know if we've seen him buy any Unicorn. And a Medusa is an enemy I don't think I've seen in 20 years or more.
You kind of forget just how many regular enemies there are. Yeah, that is a blast from the past, that's right.
I don't remember that sprite at all.
It's an interesting strategy going for like the glory walk tower here with encounters on for the XP, but yeah, I guess he realized that it's just not getting the XP worthwhile, that he's going to get 2 levels out of this, so just going to walk out of it normally.
Well, Invenerable in chat saying that it's nuke now, so he must have gotten it in that fight, and Palom gets it at 51, and I was wrong.
Oh, I'm mistaken then. My stream stuttered a little bit, so I might have missed it.
He's making a reference. Okay.
I feel like I should know that reference.
But we are seeing Sylph Cave. I imagine this is going to be, he's moved battle speed. There's going to be some trap chest hunting.
And getting that Stardust rod there, probably happy to see that.
Yeah, definitely going to be happier with that than I think there was a change rod that one of them was using.
but I don't believe he did Super Tower, so he doesn't have the second Stardust Rod. You walked right past it, so.
Yeah, I mean, the XP in those chests isn't very worth it, so I don't imagine that he would be interested in it.
Right. And some good good speed down there on Rydia, able to get the Quake out before the ghosts are able to cast Fire too, so saving a lot of animation time there.
Yeah, these are a little bit scary, but if you know your ATB system well enough, and penguin8r even moved the battle speed down to 3 to make sure he gets everything off, you can get your Quakes off without having to actually fight any of these. The Quake will always come out first, except for these 2 enemy fights. You sometimes have to run buffer these ones.
Oh, Rydia with the pro dodge though, no problem. Palm's not going to get the XP, is the unfortunate side effect of that, and he's the one you want to get the XP. But now that that fight's out of the way.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that we're seeing some Cure 2s on Cecil, so he makes sure to cover in that case next time. And here's the other fight where she might not get the Quake out in time.
Oh, bad breath hitting Rydia, which means...
Oh, and that advanced board phase AI. Breath on both of them.
That is that desire sensor going off right there. Great job on that board. I'm proud of your AI programming abilities here.
Yeah, speaking of adaptable, that AI program just knows what to do every time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, seeing RNG in chat. There's nothing random about it. The game knows.
Cecil's like, no, I got this. I can chop these down. It's fine.
Sometimes when you got a botanical plant hoarder, you got to chop it down yourself.
That's a happy spear for Kane.
Yeah, certainly not bad. Probably going to be better than the axe he's currently rocking. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a switch over to that for the Z fight.
Yeah, now that we're done with those 2 enemy encounters to where they would kind of get through the queue fast enough to actually be able to queue their own attacks, these are all be home free with the Quake strategy here.
Yeah, no need to even unfrog your palm there. And hey, there's a lightsaber to replace the one that was sold.
Yeah, it always feels good to get that back.
Yeah, everything's coming back around. Oh!
And real ultimate power.
Well, that is the consolation prize for for penguin8r there. Wow.
Wow, and it looks like he didn't take it actually, because he had no inventory room.
Oh, please no.
And more encounters that you don't often see.
Okay, good. Getting away from that. Though I have seen Wyvern use pollen before.
I think not only have we gone to the edge of our runner's bag of tricks, we've gone to the edge of Free Enterprise's bag of tricks and what it can possibly throw.
We've gone to the edge of the runner's sanity at this point. This is a Lovecraftian seed that has been concocted here. Sometimes when you stare too deep into the seed stares back at you. Did you know there were armadillos in this game?
I think so. I feel like they're in one of the all gauntlets somewhere.
There's Nuke. We got 2 black mages ready to go here. And yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, if penguin8r is looking at those reflex strats, there really wouldn't be any reason to pick up that crystal sword, because Cecil's not going to be doing anything here but throwing potions around.
Yeah, I mean, you could make Kane your potion thrower and have Cecil attack 2 or 3 times. That would speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. But then you have to count and do math, and no one likes that.
Okay, no, he did keep the crystal sword. Very good.
Oh, he did. Okay, all right. I was trying to justify it any way I could.
That's what I get for believing chat twice.
I'm guilty of it too. Chat is just so enticing. They always seem like they know what they're talking about.
Well, I mean, and when you have a seed this trolly, you never know what the runners are going to do.
There's no telling where chat ends and the seed begins at this point.
If they merge into one fell beast.
Someone needs to visualize that as a Z-Sprite.
And penguin8r finally opens the past door, gets his crystal. Elias's watch is now done with the tracking of the seed, and it's now up to penguin8r to finish it off.
Yeah, speaking of that, huge shout out to Elias the Panda as our tracker, and Jofus Mano doing the restream tonight. Huge shout out for making everything work behind the scenes here.
Yeah, absolutely doing a wonderful job throughout this entire seed.
And now we're going to get us a reprise of Butt Time.
I don't think Edward knows that one.
He needs to expand his repertoire. He only has like, what, 175 songs they can at this point?
Yeah, what a slacker. Of course, as we're talking about the harp song, shoutouts to both Boardface and Calm Lemony. Boardface who's done the majority of them, but Calm Lemony has picked up the programming of all new harp songs that we've seen a couple in various marathon runs in the last few months.
Yeah, all the insanity of this seed, and we still didn't get a harp check.
We still don't even know where the harp was. I know I wasn't actually paying attention when it scrolled by on Riverside.
Yeah, it's not something you often see in a seed that's now approaching 2 hours. But there was a surprising dearth of key items here. Everything was kind of available from the get-go that you needed to finish it. It was just a matter of getting to the point where you could finish it. It was definitely a seed that would have favored Eddie strats.
And chat, Elias telling us who's on the moon, and Neon Gray saying it was at Wyvern.
And no, we did not see our 7th character. Still no idea who it is. They are on the Giant, in Baron, Dwarf Castle, Tower Razat. Still a number of character spots left unchecked, but they're hanging out somewhere there. And Eddie's going to eat space dust here for the rest of the fight. And it's going to be down to our nukers to do the damage here.
Yes, small children are going to carry the day. Just bounce nukes off of Kane's face and that reflected wall.
Typical JRPG things.
And Cecil's going to chip some damage in with that crystal sword.
Yeah, as you mentioned, yeah. No reason not to early on. When you get closer to that threshold, you definitely don't want him to be attacking because any sort of damage that can be responded to with a reaction is going to trigger the HP refill. So, if you're counting properly, you're going to want to hold off on Cecil once you get to that part, because I believe there's like a 12,000 or so HP overlap during which that refill can happen.
Yeah, it's like after 41,000 that any damage after that will trigger the refill that is done directly to the boss. And that's a big roll.
Whew. certainly recoverable from, but very, very nasty.
Yeah, with the black hole coming out, recovering this won't be too bad. And I think we might just get Palom up. Pretty sure counting is second nature to penguin8r in this fight. So we saw Rydia throw a Star Veil and immediately bounce nukes. He knows he's pretty much done.
Yeah, just not even concerned with a full recovery. Just going to get Rydia up to take care of things from here.
Yeah, not even putting any inputs at this point. A nice roll, a flash, a crack boom, and a dot done for penguin8r, and GG's to penguin8r.
Yeah, textbook refill strats there. If you're unfamiliar with the HP refill skip there, that is how it's done, and you can see how substantially quicker that was. So GG's to penguin8r for finishing off an incredibly difficult seed here. Unfortunately, that is going to be the end of the tournament for penguin8r, but definitely put on an amazing show here on the last match. And I believe we're joined by penguin8r now. penguin8r, congratulations, finishing off that brutal seed there.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever tilted that hard before in a tournament race.
Oh God, I wouldn't blame you one bit. There was just so much stacked against. What was at the risk of revisiting some painful stuff? What was the part that really kind of had you the most frustrated there?
I mean, starting out, it was pretty much going the way I wanted. I kind of felt like getting mages, getting a slingshot with a potentially big mat grind was probably my best chance at winning in this race. But then that happened, and I just grossly underestimated my ability to do the big mat grind prior to clearing the hook route, just with only, I think, an archer bow for Cecil in order to do damage. Just was not nearly enough.
Yeah.
And so spending 10 minutes on that and just having to reset out, I was pretty much in a pretty bad mental state for the rest of it, and kept second guessing myself, kept trying to do things that I wasn't really ready for, and spiraled out of control from there.
Yeah, I think you did a lot of pressing after that pretty bold gamble that kind of came close to paying off. I think if you had gotten Palom stop so that you could actually stop that encounter whenever you wanted to, that might have gotten it for you.
Yeah, it would have been doable with stop probably, but it's still, I was doing like at most 1,000 damage per attack. It's going to take a long time to get through those giants, and I would need a lot of ethers too.
Yeah, it was a struggle for both of you though. Believe it or not, even like right around the time that you wiped in the Mac Giant grind, you really, even after the wipe, weren't that far behind Rivers, because he was struggling a lot at the evil wall on top of Lower Babel. So yeah, it was actually even at that point still a pretty close race. Just kind of a testament to just how brutal this ended up being.
Yeah, once I saw that evil wall, I was like, I knew that wasn't a good boss, and I was like, either I have to get set up properly for the Mac Giant now with the underground shops probably giving me better weapons, or I somehow get past the evil wall and then go for Edward strats. And I didn't really think that Edward hiding against the wall would be quite enough, but I tried it anyway, and yeah, it turns out it's not enough.
Yeah, just too much HP at that spot, unfortunately for you.
Yeah. Boy, we wanted it to work though.
Yeah, and the selling of the lightsaber for a poison axe, definitely not something you see every day.
Yeah, at that point, we had all our objectives. I knew if I could grind up to nuke, I'm clear. So I just needed to get that poison axe and the illusions to get ready for the grind, and then I'd be fine and could rely on Rydia and Palom.
Yeah, and we saw that you were just a little bit short on Palom. Was that just kind of unfamiliarity with exactly how much you'd need for him at that spot?
No, I think I miscounted just one fewer giants than I planned on. So he didn't quite get nuke. And at the end, Rivers had already finished a while ago. They had enough trouble with this seed, didn't want to flub the Z fight too, so I just did a little more grinding just to make sure I'd be comfortable there.
It was a textbook HP refill skip, so that was you closed out incredibly.
Do you have any other thoughts for the seed or for the tournament as a whole?
It's been a lot of fun. Definitely wanted to try to make it all the way and get to play some of the other great runners here, but definitely Rivers is one of the best in this tournament and one of the people I was afraid of coming in. So no shame in going out to Rivers. GG to him. I'm sure he played this well, as tough a seed it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did as well. Put on a wonderful show for everybody. Both of you were reaching so deep into the bag of trips and showing off just how much is possible in free enterprise. So thank you for that. And congratulations on getting as far as you did in this tournament. You played wonderfully and absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. So thank you so much, penguin8r.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and you definitely gave us a number of highlights throughout a number of races. Your race against Dia, your first match against Rivers, both exceedingly close races that you won. So you had a great tournament.
All right, so that was penguin8r taking second in this race, which unfortunately means the end of the tournament run for him. But just like we were just saying, an absolutely phenomenal showing throughout the entire competition. So make sure to give him a hand in chat for putting it on. And I believe that is going to do it for us tonight.
Yeah, this is the last scheduled match so far of the weekend. There's still the Nabla Forest Moonblaze Wolf that hasn't resolved itself. We know that Nabla Forest had some internet issues earlier in the week, so we're still kind of waiting on word for what is going on with the rest of that. We are finding a raid target for you, but it has been a great show. Thank you, Smapey. It's always a pleasure doing this with you, and thank you, Jofus Manho and Elias the Panda for doing the restreaming and tracking for us.
Yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure to be in the comms booth with you, Antidale. Looks like we have got Commander Leonhardt is doing a FE seed. So let's go ahead and give them a raid, send them some love, watch some more free enterprise here tonight. But yeah, for the rest of the commentary staff here and the restream staff, my name is Smapey, and thank you so much for watching us.
Looks like we'll be rating Commander Leonhardt, who is doing free enterprise seed. So again, thanks you all for watching, and have a great weekend.
Good night, everyone.